The games under the Friday night lights in the URC are done. And I'll tell you what's also done is the question marks we had about who's going to make the playoffs. We now know the 8 teams that are going to be in the postseason in the URC, and one of which is going to go on and lift that trophy. Lots to talk about after this evening's games. I've just finished watching Munster against Benetton, but I've been keeping across all of the games this evening. So what I'm going to do is give some big picture thoughts on the games this evening, the picture in the URC, and then I'm going to go through a kind of as it happened through the games as I saw them, because I don't know about you, you might have been doing the same thing. I was flicking around between channels when there was half-time, a game kicking off, a break in play, one team looked like they'd won. I was flicking around to keep across all of the stories as they were unfolding in real time. So I'll do that, and I'd love to get your thoughts in the comments down below. So, let's have a look at the table as it currently stands with Friday night's games done. And like I say, the top 8, that's decided. Cardiff miss out, Benetton miss out, Ulster also lost. Those 3 teams losing to Edinburgh, to Munster, to Stormers, who got themselves the victories this evening. I'll go through those games. That means the Scarlets are in the postseason. Every single country in the URC is going to be represented in the postseason. Big boost for Welsh rugby. Well done to the Scarlets. But what can they do tomorrow? Can they get, maybe an unlikely, they won't be the favourites, but can they go to the Sharks and get a victory? If they can, they could elevate themselves to 6th, and then they'll be away to Glasgow, which they might think is a much better prospect than going away to Leinster, which is where they currently sit. So that's still to be decided. And the positions in the top 4 are still to be decided. The Bulls, you'd think, are going to cement 2nd. Glasgow, tough away trip to Leinster. But yeah, that game between Sharks and Scarlets, that could be the one that decides the top 4. Can the Sharks overtake Glasgow and leapfrog them into 3rd spot? I predicted earlier today and earlier this week when I've done some videos on the URC, I predicted that the quarterfinals would look like this. Glasgow against Stormers, 4th v 5th, as I predicted. 2nd v 7th would be the Bulls against Edinburgh. Leinster against Scarlets, 1 v 8. And 3 v 6, the Sharks against Munster. And it is panning out that way as things currently stand. If Sharks get the win tomorrow over Scarlets, then that will be exactly how the quarterfinals are going to look. But like I say, lots to play for. But let's get into the actual games we saw this evening. So it started, the early kickoff of the 3 was in Cape Town. The Stormers looking really dangerous against Cardiff in the opening moments. Cardiff's good kicking game was keeping them in it, although not very fluent attack from Cardiff. In the first half, they only ran for 57 metres in attack, which is one stat that I had to do a little double take on when I saw it. Marnie Libok was pulling strings in the 10 jersey with Sasha Feinberg and Gomazulu on the bench. Libok, he's so quick. And he looked rapid, and his passing so crisp. Damien Willemser, full of confidence, playing really well in that first half. A roller coaster of a game for him. We'll come to that. Cam Winnett looking really shaky in defence, and it was Zas scoring the opening try. Stormers off to a flyer, but Southworth hit back for Cardiff, and they do show a lot of resilience, this Cardiff team. And again, roller coaster for Damien Willemser, roller coaster for Southworth as well. Although Southworth, now with the season being over for Cardiff, not much in the way of consequences. Could be some significant ones for Damien Willemser. I'll come to that. Try for Suleiman Hartzenberg. Josh Adams screaming for support. Did feel a bit sorry for him. 3-on-1. Got shredded. And then a red card for Southworth. High shot. I don't know. What did you think? I didn't think it was malicious. I thought it was high. I thought it was a poor tackle. You could argue the mitigation down from red to a yellow because it wasn't a high degree of danger. It's interesting, different competitions, the referees are kind of dealing with red card, yellow card a little bit differently. And it feels like there's been an effort recently, certainly a lot of watching the Premiership, it seems like there's been an effort to mitigate cards down from a red to a yellow where it's possible. And I think it would have been possible to have done that on both the red cards this evening, but I also understand why they were given. So, red card, Zas scored, and you think, well, is it done now? They're down a man, and Stormers have just scored their 3rd try. But Cardiff, like I say, showed a bit of resilience, and it was Gabriel Hamer-Webb, did really well scoring a try, 19-12. And Cardiff will feel like it should have been 19-14 because of a shot clock scandal. Now, this has actually caught out Sasha Feinberg-Ngomazulu in this stadium before. Cape Town Stadium does not have a shot clock. And, well, Callum Sheedy was not happy. I have to say, I think the water carrier and the coaches that were getting right in the face of the referee, they were out of order for doing that. You shouldn't do that. However frustrated you might be, that's not rugby. It's not what we do. So they need to have a little word with themselves there. But what happened, as far as I could see, and I rewound it to kind of watch what happened. So there's no shot clock. So the referee said to Callum Sheedy, you've got 20 seconds. And then if you actually look at the clock on the screen, and I checked it, rewound it and looked, 18 seconds later, he blows the whistle and says time up. 19 seconds after he'd said, you've got 20 seconds left, Callum Sheedy kicks it over. But the points are not awarded. Now, you run the risk of missing out on that if you leave it that close. I did feel sorry for Callum Sheedy, but also just kick the ball. Just kick it, and then you haven't got to worry. So, yeah, that was the score at half-time. It was 19-12, game on, although you just kind of felt Stormers were going to let rip at some point. And in the second half, it was Suleiman Hartzenberg scoring again, and you thought, this is game over now. This is all over. But that just shocked Cardiff into life. Having not made many yards in attack in the first half, they broke out from their own 22. And from that sequence of play, it was Harry Millard scored in the opposite corner to where the initial break had happened. Gabriel Hamer-Webb round the back, making the extra man. Good bit of footwork. Committed 2 men, Zas and Willems are stepping on him. And, this was when you had a bit of a fast. This TMO fast. The game stopped for ages. At first you thought, oh, right, Teddy Williams has caused obstruction on a Stormers defender, so the try's going to be ruled out. And, again, I don't know if it's the same as French directors. English directors have been accused of this, showing the highlight that they want the referee to look at. Anyway, we kept seeing this highlight and the crowd going, give Stormers a pen, disallow the try. Referee and it was Piardi, the TMO, weren't having any of it. They said no. Then it looked like they were checking for a forward pass, which they ruled out. And then turns out what they're actually looking at all along is a high shot from Damien Willems on Gabriel Hamer-Webb. And I'd say it's very much like Southworth. It was high, yes. It was clumsy, yeah. It looked passive to me. Slow motion looks really bad. Full speed, Willems wasn't really driving his shoulder in. I feel sorry for him because, yes, I can see why it was a red card, but also I think you could have mitigated that down to a yellow. But I guess having given the first red card, you have to give the second one. And that is a massive worry for the Stormers because I don't know what the suspension could be. If it's one game, then he misses the playoff match. Say, if it's away in Glasgow or away at the Sharks. If it's 2 or 3, could miss the rest of the season should Stormers get there. But the fact could well not be there for the first one, that's a massive blow, big playoff concern. Anyway, as it was, they're 14 aside now. I thought Kurtley Arendse in South African rugby was the one they called the Butcher. They should call Paul de Vet that because I tell you what, he absolutely blew a golden try scoring opportunity, compounded by the fact that Cam Winnett goes and slots a 50-22. It's a 7-point game. Stormers are butchering chances, and it took until 71 minutes. Sasha FM kicking the ball high, gathering his own kick, offload to Connor Evans, bonus point try, and the game, at which point I turned over to Edinburgh against Ulster. But I did check back and see that Stormers got themselves a penalty and Cardiff got themselves a losing bonus point. So that was something for them to hang on to, although you did think that might not be enough for Cardiff. Flicking over to Edinburgh against Ulster. Wee Darcy had already scored by the time I tuned in. I've looked back at the try since. Beautiful line, and I hope Andy Farrell was watching. I still hold out hope that Wee Darcy will be a British and Irish Lion before the end of this summer. Magnus Bradbury powered over. Good line out, solid set piece, and then excellent power. Although I thought Nathan Doak and the name of the Ulster fly half that escapes me now. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The pair of them should have done better in defence. But Bradbury, with the injuries to Dempsey, with the injury to Fagerson in the Scottish back row, Bradbury's got to be back in the Scotland squad for the tour this summer, and he's playing really well and led his side very well. So that was 12-0 up to Edinburgh at that point, at which point I flicked over to Munster against Benetton, and I turned on just in time to see the sides walking out. Zombie was playing in Cork at Musgrave Park. Peter Romani's farewell in his home. He's a Cork man, so another farewell there. And Craig Casey running out for his 100th appearance. And I looked at the Benetton kit when they ran out and thought they deserve to lose for that stash alone. But there were early warning signs for Benetton, from Benetton. Jacob Umaga just ghosting through the defence. Thomas Gageot doing Thomas Gageot things, little break and a kick. Benetton dominant at scrum time. And you thought this is a bit of a worry for Munster at this point. Munster were playing with lots of structure, going high with the kicks, being contestable, cross-field kicks a lot, territorial kicks, playing the power game percentages. Benetton in those transitions were deadly, and they were trying to make the game a little bit loose. But it was actually when Munster did attack from deep that they scored the first try of the game. Farrell made a break on halfway, went through the phases. Jack Crowley going through for a try. One concern over Jack Crowley's fitness, he was hobbling around for a lot of the game and didn't come off till quite near the end. So he's got a couple of weeks now. That's going to be an interesting one to watch, his fitness. Hopefully it's just a dead leg or something like that and he can recover quickly enough. Rhino Smith scored a try for Benetton. 2 tries in the first half conceded by Munster that they will be really disappointed about, but opportunistic from Benetton. And Rhino Smith scored a second try. Missed tackle from Craig Casey. Should have done better on Umaga. Umaga wheels. Rhino Smith even more wheels. And Benetton are 14-10 up at half-time. So I flick back to Edinburgh v Ulster. Perfect timing. Jamie Ritchie's coming onto the field for his final game in Edinburgh. Not his final game for Edinburgh, though, because it was a really strong second-half performance from them. Try from Magnus Bradbury, a second one from him. We got there was one bit where Thomas Stewart's butt cheeks were out on show for everyone for Ulster, and that was a bit of a metaphor for the game for Ulster. They had their pants pulled down in that second half. It was poor from them. They looked all right, but just another implosion. It's really disappointing because they've got good players. And the last thing I heard before I turned back for the second half of Munster Benetton was "Scoo," because Pierre Schoeman scored a try, and it looked like the game was done at that point. Flick back over to the second half of Munster against Benetton, and it was a completely different Munster team that took to the field. They were winning collisions, they had more punch, fiercer at the breakdown, set piece was good, Barron had come on, really good darts, good drills. He was on the end of a try from a maul, and then Peter Romani, there was one moment, just a classic bit of, I'm going to miss that man. Going to miss that man. His final game in Munster, not his final game for Munster, because he lives to play again in a fortnight's time at least. But there was one moment where he clearly thought that his team should have been given a penalty at scrum time, and that stare, that death-cold stare from Peter Romani to the assistant referee, you don't need words when you can pull that face. It's amazing. Anyway, Takir Abraham's wheels to burn away down the left-hand touchline. Craig Casey with a conversion from the touchline because Jack Crowley was on one leg and wasn't being brought off, and it was 15 unanswered points, 25-14. And honestly, at this point, I thought, well, it's done. Munster are not going to lose a 9-point lead at home, even as dangerous as Benetton can be. And Munster were just kicking with good variety and territory. Benetton's heads looked like they'd gone. The game was getting loose because Benetton were let it getting loose. And I thought Munster should have carried on with their strategy of just squeezing them. But they let Benetton into their 22, and they're deadly when they're there. And a maul try for them, 25-21. One of my favourite bits of the game was clearly that the Munster crowd didn't like the fact the try had gone against them, boos. But then this is a crowd, and I love this. I love this about that Munster crowd, wherever you go, Limerick, Cork, whatever, they all went shh and quieted everyone that was booing. So there was deadly silence just in time for the kick. 10 minutes to go. It's a 4-point game. Heart-in-mouth moment for Munster fans. When Jacob Umaga goes through, a mistake from Munster, he kicks the ball through. Fortunately for them, Mike Adamson, the referee, had seen an offside, and crisis averted. And what could have been a heartbreaking moment where Munster went behind turned into a bonus point try and the win when a maul set up Josh Wycherley for a try. That was 30-21 at that point. That's how it finished. Benetton, they missed a trick here because they had a penalty and they went for 3 points, clearly thinking it would get them into losing bonus point range. But let me just remind you of what the table looks like now. Even if Benetton had got that losing bonus point, they still would have been outside the 8. They had to get the 4th try. They had 3. They needed to get 2 losing bonus points. And actually, now I'm looking at it, even then, well, no, because Scarlets have still got to play. Point being, someone in the Benetton ranks, coach, captain, whatever, someone should have known the situation and said, don't go for the posts, kick to the corner, get the try and the losing bonus point. Not to say they would have got it, but that is the only route for Benetton to have reached the final 8. I'm assuming it's on points difference that the positions are decided if they're equal on points. Or it could be on wins, though. It could be on wins first. And there you go. Oh, no, because they weren't going to win. So it might have come down to points difference. In which case, unless Scarlets get absolutely hosed by the Sharks, then there's no way Benetton were going up anyway, unless they won it, as it turned out, or got a draw and a try bonus point at least. So anyway, I guess it didn't matter that they went for the penalty. Doesn't matter. It was Munster's day. They're into 6th. What can the Scarlets do tomorrow? Thoroughly enjoyed that. And again, something I've said before, and I'm going to say it again. When other domestic leagues have their final round of games, the standard thing to do is to have all games kicking off at the same time because you want it to be fair to all teams, no one to have an advantage. I love that the URC do it like this because it just makes it more fun for the fan. And so, yeah, well done for that. It was good. And I look forward to seeing the games tomorrow, which don't have quite as much on them as we thought they might do, because Scarlets could, if they want to, just put their feet up and wait for Leinster. But I've got a feeling they're going to have a crack at the Sharks and try and get a game against Glasgow. We will see. Right. Thoughts down below. Give the video a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.